So yes, I think we are here. So content aggregation for operators, how to win from OTT disruption. Next, Marco. As DataX is monitoring quarter by quarter subscribers, ARPU, and revenues from all operators. And what we see now in Latin America, since 2016, traditional pay TV is declining in the region. And we wonder if is it a temporary issue of weak economy, a structural issue of social divide that limits the penetration of services, or it's a new trend. Core never are stopping the pay TV growth. Well, the reality, as you can see, shows that broadband access, the blue line, is the dark blue line is growing despite the two first mentioned drivers. So it looks like pay TV, traditional pay TV is really in crisis. Next, Marco, please. And it's not only subscribers, but is obviously is a decreasing of revenues too that is impacting on operators. We see the decreasing of revenues came from a little earlier, 2014, but it's continues going down. Next one. In the other hand, SVOD OTT is steady growing, showing that really the issue is the traditional pay TV service. And we see that now it's time for operator to catch the new wave. Next one. And some of operators in Latin America have started to catch the wave. As you can see here in this Brazil sample, in this Brazil case, OTT and direct-to-consumer aggregation is the new path of digital transformation for both traditional pay TV operators and new virtual pay TV operators, or new VMVPDs, as you call in US, but also FTA broadcaster moving to pay TV, and new broadband actors, new ISPs in Latin America. For this reason, I like to introduce the experts on content aggregation. And at this point, I will hand over to Marco Fratolin. He's head of operators products, as I told you, of Vewd. Marco.
Thank you, Ariel, and for having me here. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Before getting into the main presentation, please let me just say a few words about Vewd. We are the leading provider of OTT and hybrid TV software solutions for connected TV devices, means both smart TVs and set-top boxes. We are around 230 employees worldwide, and most of them are engineers. Our software enables OTT and hybrid TV functionality on approximately 40 million devices shipped every year, and we have about 300 million devices in total in field worldwide. I think what is quite unique about Vewd in this market is that we work both with smart TV manufacturers on one side and with pay TV operators and vendors on the other side. So that gives us a very interesting perspective on how the market is evolving, and that also gives us the opportunity to build a bridge between the two worlds. In terms of pay TV specifically, we work with all the most known pay TV operators, set-top box vendors, and retail TV manufacturers. And I would just want to underline that all our software solutions are 100% cross-platform, meaning that we can provide the same tools and functionalities on Android, Linux, or RDK. So without further ado, what we are going to look into now in the presentation is what OTT and what impact OTT is having on pay TV, and we will look at 3 key aspects of that. Then we will try to define what is the new goal for pay TV operators and how they can actually reach it, both in terms of high-level strategies, but also we will try to give you some practical tips about how to implement those strategies. So let's start by explaining in a little bit more detail what OTT is doing to pay TV and how OTT disruption is actually happening. And we can identify 3 key aspects. First aspect is technology. The second is user experience and consumer experience, and we'll see that they are very different. And then, of course, the aspect which is often considered the main one is availability of content. So OTT technology basically consists of 4 main elements. It's, of course, based on IP architectures, and it assumes that devices are always connected. So this is the first difference comparing to typical pay TV systems. Over IP, OTT has introduced the adaptive bitrate streaming protocols and DRM, content protection, because OTT is supposed to work over the open internet instead of closed managed networks. So all the protocols and the systems used in OTT have to work over the open internet. And of course, all the tools and the workflows are largely based on public clouds. And this is very different compared with the traditional on-premises and siloed workflows. And this combination of technologies has been increasingly successful in the last years because of a couple of different reasons. The first reason is, of course, that broadband is available more and more. And here it's important to underline that we are not talking only about fixed broadband like fiber to the home or ADSL, but also mobile broadband. And in some areas of the world, it's very interesting to see that some countries are kind of jumping from almost no broadband or maybe very limited broadband, and they are jumping to mobile broadband. And I think we'll see more of this with 5G. The other factor which is basically driving adoption of OTT technology is that the technology itself is very mature. Now nobody questions anymore the basic possibility to use OTT protocols to stream video and the scalability and capacity of public clouds. Cost has also gone down. So this means that using OTT technology just makes economic sense in more and more cases. And as a consequence of this, we see that pay TV operators are increasingly adopting OTT technology for more and more services. Of course, video on demand and PVR have been the first pay TV services to move to OTT technology and cloud. But now we are seeing more and more features around personalizations and addressable TV that can really benefit from the unicast connections that OTT enables. And then, of course, the next milestone for OTT is linear and especially live. And the industry, I would say, is looking forward to the Olympic Games next year and the Football World Cup in 2022 to really see to what extent OTT live coverage will be able to be at the same level as broadcast. And we shouldn't forget that OTT technology has an impact not only on operator technology, but also on operator ways of working, because together with the OTT technology, operators are also changing the way of working. And it was interesting in my experience to see that a lot of big operators, including incumbent telcos, for instance, that are known to be quite sort of rigid, they have embraced more and more agile and DevOps methodologies, because they work very well together with the OTT technology. And if we have to try to quantify the success of OTT technology, we can try to do that by looking at this chart from Cisco, where they compare the CDN traffic, which is mostly video streaming, with TV services on managed IP networks. And of course, we can clearly see that CDN traffic will grow much more than video traffic on managed network. Of course, we have to remember that not all CDN traffic is OTT and pay TV over the internet, but a large part of that is. The next aspect of OTT impact on pay TV is user interfaces and user experience. So now, as consumers, we are all used to the type of user experience that we get on the web, and the interfaces on the web are optimized to increase usage and engagement. So they are built around principles which are being content-centric, context-sensitive, and it's especially important that the UIs are always evolving. So we are all used in the online world to find different functions, different UI elements. Everything is basically changing all the time and faster. And in order to cope with that, the UI have to be very intuitive and very simple. Basically, the UI has to get out of the way between the end users and the service that they want to access. So the pay TV operators and service providers have to basically keep up with this, because we are all getting used to this now more and more. But there is more than just the user interface, because OTT is also influencing the expectations that we have as end users, and specifically the consumer experience. So this is an interesting chart that shows a comparison between the Net Promoter Score of TV and internet service providers and the Net Promoter Score of streaming media. And as most of the audience will know, basically Net Promoter Score is basically how likely is that a customer would basically recommend a service to other people. So the Net Promoter Score is an index of how good a service or a product is perceived by customer. And of course, we can all see that this picture is not very good for TV and internet service providers, because it seems that the best TV and internet service provider is still worse than the worst streaming media service. So there is clearly a gap there. Now, this picture is a little bit extreme, I would say, and that's because it's US only. So in US, there are a couple of factors that should be taken into account. Number one, is that pay TV services are quite expensive. And number two is that broadband access in very large areas of US is basically a monopoly. So these two things, I think, contribute in making this gap in the Net Promoter Score more extreme. But nevertheless, I think this is a reality also in Latin America and other parts of the world, that basically pay TV operators have to improve how they are perceived by the end users. And this is basically largely because of OTT that has sort of raised the bar. And the third aspect of OTT impact on pay TV, which is often considered the biggest one, is of course content, and specifically content choice. In the last years, a lot of OTT services have emerged, the so-called D2C, direct-to-consumer services, and they are all competing for user attention and user wallet. And of course, giving more choice to the end users is good up to a point, because we are now facing the situation where all these OTT services are just too many. The market is very, very crowded. We have seen already some casualties and some consolidation. So this is the phase where the operators can really step in and basically help the end users find the content they love in all this variety of different sources. And we are going to look into that in more detail in a minute. So the operator opportunity is really to capture the OTT growth and the increased spending that is gonna happen for mainly subscription VOD, but let's not forget also TVOD, which is much smaller but still relevant. I also want to mention that in US, the average number of SVOD subscription per household is 2.8, so it's quite high, while I think in Latin America we are more around 1.2 or 1.3. But of course, the opportunity to basically capture that growth is still very relevant. So how can the operators actually do that? So first of all, let's define what is the goal for an operator today. In our view, the goal is to really provide the consumer with an integrated operator experience, which helps consumers to overcome both platform and content fragmentation, which means that the problem today is not just a technology problem to find a way to deliver content to the end users, but it's also a consumer fragmentation problem where the end users need help in their full journey from content discovery to content payment to, of course, content consumption. So the pay TV operator is really in an excellent position to basically provide this integrated experience for the whole consumer journey. But in order to do that, it's not enough probably to just onboard a couple of OTT apps in a classic pay TV service, because that has been happening already for some time, and we have seen in the previous slides that it's well underway in Latin America. But probably what is necessary is a more coherent bundling of all the different products and services. So how can that be done? And what are the operator strategies to reach that goal? Well, of course, operator strategies are a very complex topic. It's like a jigsaw puzzle where each piece has to be defined and has to fit together with the others in a coherent way. So in this presentation, we are going to focus on 3 pieces, and maybe we can leave the others for the next webinars. So the first piece is TV user experience. TV user experience is very important because we spend a lot of time in front of the TV screen, or the first screen as it's called. And that means that the operator really has to focus and make sure that the best possible user experience is happening in the main screen that the end users want to use to enjoy content. And the operator can do that by embracing new trends in UX design. In the past, we got used to interfaces that were technology driven, and they were organized based on how the content was delivered and when it was available. And this was the sort of normal way to arrange a user interface. But now, thanks to OTT and thanks to expectations basically driven by the web, the TV UX needs to be basically content driven. So the actual content needs to take front and center position in the UI with the pictures, metadata, and actual video. The content discovery process, it has to be driven by context. So it has to be organized based on what is relevant for the end users and in that specific time, and also based on their specific preferences. So of course, usage of data is essential to implement personalization. And when this UI is implemented, the different technologies have to be used in a seamless way to just deliver content to the end user. So it doesn't really matter if content is a linear TV channel or a VOD movie or a catch-up asset or some long tail short video asset. All these different types of content have to be merged together for the end user in a seamless and invisible way. It's also essential for the operator to have the possibility to keep the UI evolving and basically be able to change the UI and adapt it over time without needing to upgrade devices in field. The next piece of an operator strategy is finding the right portfolio of devices to actually reach the TV screen. There is no one size fits all, of course, here. So a mix of different devices is needed to reach different types of users. In general, we would see pay TV operators sitting on the left side of this diagram, and typically they basically provide end users with home hubs or multimedia gateways or set-top boxes. And this type of devices have pros and cons. Of course, they are more expensive in terms of capex investments, but on the bright side, they provide fully customized features. They give operators full control because they can be run in a walled garden, and they enable more sophisticated bundling opportunities, especially for telcos or cable operators that can use these devices to basically provide both pay TV services and data access. On the other side of the chart, on the right side, we would typically see OTT services that are just apps. like running on devices purchased by the end users. But pay TV operators can do that as well. They can have pay TV apps basically running on devices that the end users purchase by themselves. And in this case, the advantage, of course, it's a lower capex investment. But on the other side, the pay TV operators have to live with standard features, which can be pretty advanced, but still they are the same for their pay TV service and for any other pay TV service or OTT service that can run on the same device. So there is much less control, or actually no control, which makes these devices completely open to competing services. And another risk is that both the TV service itself and also the data service that can be bundled with it could get basically commoditized if on this side of the chart. So what OTT technology is doing now is that it is allowing operators to move from the left side of the diagram to the right side. And there are a couple of interesting options that the operators can take in the middle to basically not be stuck with the only set-top boxes, but also experiment with the new types of the devices, like for instance HDMI sticks or HDMI dongles that are a smaller form factor. They can also experiment with audio-based form factors like sound bars or smart speakers, and they can experiment with operator TV sets, which is an interesting option because it allows to lower capex, and basically I think operators have to still subsidize this type of devices, at least partially, but they can also assume that the end users partially pay for them. So there is a clear improvement on the capex here. But especially with operator TVs, if a pay TV operator basically partners up with a TV vendor, they can take the advantage of lowering capex while at the same time provide a complete branded experience on a TV set without opening for competition on the same device. So the key here is not to choose the perfect device for everyone, because that doesn't exist, but is to build a basically portfolio of different devices to reach as many users as possible, and also, and this is especially relevant for telcos, to expand their pay TV reach off their network, which means that with OTT devices they can offer pay TV services over competing networks. The third piece of operator strategy is the content strategy. Now, as many of you will know, it's very hard to summarize content strategy in one slide, but I think we can identify a couple of key principles that can guide us here. So how to put together the perfect content mix? Well, first of all, of course, we have to identify the premium content, which is going to be the anchor of the bundle and the anchor of the offer. And this is typically exclusive content that the pay TV operator can bring into the region. Exclusive content can be because of exclusive content rights, or can be because it's the own operator production. We see more and more pay TV operators that are starting to create their own originals, by themselves or partnering up with some other production companies. Or the premium content can also be an early to market, or even better, first to market OTT app. And for instance, we are seeing a couple of interesting examples here of this case with Disney Plus in Europe, where in some countries Disney is partnering with the pay TV operator to reach as many users as possible. Then the next layer in the perfect content mix is all the global and local content which is necessary to make the offer complete. So this is all the must-have content that end users would expect. So it's a complete lineup of linear TV channels. Must-have OTT apps must be here, of course, like YouTube, Netflix, and so on. And then I think what a pay TV operator can do better than others is really putting together the local content that the end users want to have. Thanks to their local presence and knowledge of the local market and the local content providers, pay TV operators have an edge in aggregating the local content. And we know that in many countries, end users consider local content as important or even more important than the must-have global OTT apps. And then last but not least, the content mix can be enriched with long-tail content, niche content offering, or new categories of content. And these are the unexpected content assets or the new things that the pay TV operator can bring in front of the end users to make sure that they always get something new and something fresh in their experience, and they are not going to get basically bored with the same content again and again. And this can also be very useful to solve the so-called 20 minutes problem, which means that basically we all have to spend in the evening 20 minutes just to decide what to watch, instead of just basically getting to watch it. And this issue has been made worse with all the OTT apps that we have access to now. So now we are gonna get into some more sort of practical tips about how to implement those high-level strategies. So the first tip is to really make use of hybrid technology to the fullest. So a pay TV operator who wants to aggregate OTT services typically will end up with a big part of the video offer being based on some IPTV protocol or maybe broadcast like cable or digital terrestrial or satellite on one side, and then all the OTT content on the other side. But they don't have to be separate. Well, actually, they have to be merged together as much as possible. And that can be done by basically using IP and OTT data and videos and pictures to enrich broadcast, so that the experience of TV zapping becomes more engaging. It can also be done by putting together TV linear channels and OTT channels, or even OTT services in one single list, so that the end user doesn't have to be aware the difference, he or she can just find all the content available in one place. And this is extremely important to not confuse end users who actually are looking for a normal zapping experience. And of course, we all know that new generations of users are more used to an OTT internet type of experience. But of course, there is a vast number of users that like love plain old TV. So we have to use hybrid technology to cater for them. The second tip is to rethink apps as content sources. So basically, someone said some time ago that the future of TV was in the apps. I think we all know that we are past that now, but apps are still very important as containers of content. So what end users want is not a big list of so hundreds of apps to choose from. They want the content which is inside the apps. So we can still make use of the apps, but we have to sort of try to make the consumer journey from the UI and from the apps to the actual video as simple and as short as possible. And this can be done by removing the obstacles caused by having to search for the right app, downloading it, installing it, and so on. And this can be done by pre-installing apps or by basically using HTML5 apps which don't need to be installed. And also deep links can and should be used as much as possible to sort of skip the app layer and get directly into the video asset layer. The next tip is to experiment with new types of content. As we said before, the pay TV operator is in this excellent position of being able to basically provide the end users with all the content they want, including something that they don't expect or that they are not actually looking for. So for instance, a good example in this case is gaming. We know that gaming is on the rise. As an industry, gaming has already surpassed video and media. But from an end user perspective, it's still somehow only available to gamers. So you have to be an expert to be able to enjoy, high-level games. So now that gaming is becoming a mainstream topic, I think pay TV operators should take advantage of that and make it easy for non-gamers to basically try games. And this can be done by using cloud gaming technologies and mixing games in the overall content offering. And one way to do that is what we call thematic aggregation, which means that the operator can take advantage of what is hot in a specific market at a specific time and put together a time-limited offer or a time-limited UI combination that merges together different type of content. Here the example, for instance, is that there might be a MotoGP race in a specific country. So in the weeks leading to the race, the operator can highlight a piece of premium content, which could typically be a live coverage of the event on a specific channel or on a specific app. And they can enrich that and combine that with cloud games or long tail content, because the interest for the premium content or the live event can basically drive engagement for extra content and non-premium content. Another important aspect is legacy devices. Now, we can all get excited about all the possibilities enabled by modern boxes and modern technology, but we all know that each operator has to live with legacy systems and especially legacy boxes. So we need to make sure that those are not left behind. And this can be done. Most likely the full OTT hybrid experience is not possible on legacy boxes because there are all kinds of limitations, but still streamlined OTT experience can be defined and can be deployed on those boxes, mainly thanks to IP connectivity and cloud technologies. And once the boxes are cloud enabled, it becomes much easier to keep updating them and introducing new features. The next tip is about reaching the new generations of end users called cord nevers, cord shifters, or whatnot. This type of users are not used to pay TV, so they don't feel the need for it, and pay TV is not the first option they have in mind for video entertainment. So in order to cater for them, a pay TV operator has to create a specific offer. Could be an entry-level offer, could be based on an app or a little HDMI stick or HDMI dongle. So these are all like tools that an operator can use to onboard this type of users with an easy entry point, and then once they are onboarded, then the operator can basically try to shift them to the sort of higher level of pay TV subscription and to a more complete pay TV service. And the last tip is that as a super aggregator, a pay TV operator can innovate with and can experiment and innovate with pricing models. There are a couple of market studies which show that the consumers perceive the value of product bundles in a non-linear way. So it's not just a matter of adding features and services and increasing the price. The real point is to find the right balance between the services and features included in a product and its price. And of course, there are going to be a couple of different options for different target groups. But the pay TV operator, thanks to their building relationships with the end users, are in a very good position to experiment with that and find that perfect balance. What we have learned from OTT is that all pricing models with a free element, they work quite well. So free trials, freemium models where some features are available for free for a limited time, or a combination of free and ad-funded models. All these are elements that can be used to appeal to specific users. And also, especially for telcos and cable operators, there are a lot of interesting product bundles that can be built combining video and data. And there are some sort of studies that shows that data volume might be an interesting dimension instead of just data bandwidth. So in summary, what we have seen is that OTT is having a big impact on pay TV, and we have looked at three main aspects: technology, user experience, customer experience, and content. We have also explained that OTT and pay TV are not necessarily alternative to each other, but instead pay TV operators can actually capture OTT growth by solving platform and content fragmentation problems for consumers and providing an integrated operator experience. And that can be done by focusing on three key elements: the user experience on the TV screen, the right portfolio of client devices, and the perfect content mix. And then we have also tried to give you some practical tips about how to do that. And we would like to basically conclude this presentation with this quote from Barclays, saying that pay TV operators are really in the best position to become super aggregators and benefit from the rise of OTT. So now I'd like to thank you all for your attention. If you want to know more, please visit our website, vewd.com, or just reach out to me via email.
Thank you,
I think now
Marco.
we might have some time for like questions from the floor, right? So
yes, thank you, Marco. Very good presentation. Yes, we will start now a short Q&A session, I think, because we don't have so much time, but I see that we already have some questions from attendees. Remember, you can write question and send to us by the platform. So as I told you during the opening, this is the last event for the taxis in 2019. We will start our Latin American series with Next TV series Argentina in May 2020. Then we'll continue with Next TV series Colombia in June, Sport TV series in Miami in October, this year with 2 days. And then Next TV CEO, Next TV series Mexico in November, and Next TV series Brazil in December with 2 days also. So before say here, I think we will have some questions. I think, Marco, you are ready to answer some questions from the attendees now.
Yeah, I see one interesting question, which is about content security and OTT. I think that's a very good question.
Okay.
And
can you read
think, yeah, I think one participant is asking if OTT can actually put some sort of threats to content security. And I think I can comment on that, saying that one of the technology impact that OTT is having on pay TV is that DRM technologies are considered more and more as good enough to protect premium content. So as it is also true for other aspects of technologies, I don't think we will see a complete shift to pure DRM, but I think we will see a mix where DRM is increasing in terms of importance. And I think that was it.
Okay. Can you see the questions? Hello? Marco, okay. So so thank you for everybody. We hope you have a good 2019 year. This is our last session of the year, and we will see in 2020. Merry Christmas, happy good year, and see you in 2020. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.